The Alliance warship Stellar Claw hummed through the void, its crew a mixture of species from across the galaxy. But none drew more attention than the human engineer, Lyra Kor, and her unlikely companions. A squad of Phylixian warriors, predator cats whose reputation for ferocity was matched only by their pride. Lyra had been assigned to the Stellar Claw 6 months ago, the only human among a crew of 200. The Phylixians, massive bipedal felines with retractable claws and razor-sharp instincts, had initially viewed her with suspicion. Humans were soft, they said, weak. Their flat teeth and dull nails proved they were never meant to hunt. But Lyra had proven herself in ways they hadn't expected. When a plasma conduit exploded during a skirmish with raiders, she'd crawled into superheated ventilation shafts too narrow for any Phylixian. When the ship's AI was compromised by hostile code, she'd manually rerouted every critical system while the warriors stood guard. Slowly, grudgingly, they accepted her. The Cubs, however, had loved her from the start. Threx and his littermates, Kessa, Vorn, and Little Mira, were the offspring of Commander Raxathor, the ship's tactical officer. Too young for combat but old enough to cause chaos, they spent their days prowling the corridors, practicing their pounces and honing their natural hunting instincts. Lyra's quarters had become their favorite playground, much to her initial dismay. "Out, out, all of you," she'd say, waving her arms as four juvenile Phylixians tumbled over her workbench, knocking spare parts everywhere. But Threx, the boldest of the four, would simply sit on his haunches and tilt his head, golden eyes gleaming with mischief. "The warrior Lyra does not mean this," he'd purr. "Her sense shows amusement, not anger. Damn their predator senses." Today, while Lyra was deep in the engine room calibrating the FTL drive, the Cubs had infiltrated her quarters once more. Threx led the expedition, his striped tail swishing with determination. "Search for human secrets," he commanded his siblings. "Father says understanding allies makes warriors stronger." What they found instead changed everything. Mira discovered it first, a strange object with a handle and rows of thin, flexible teeth. She batted it across the floor to Threx, who picked it up with both paws, turning it over with scientific curiosity. "What is this weapon?" Vorn asked, sniffing it cautiously. Threx examined the bristles, running them through his paw fur experimentally. The sensation was extraordinary. The teeth caught on tangles in his coat, smoothing them out with each stroke. He tried it on his head tuft, that unruly patch of fur that always stuck up no matter how much he groomed. One stroke, two strokes, three. His fur lay flat, sleek, magnificent. "By the first hunt," he breathed. Kessa snatched it from him. "Let me try!" Within moments, all four Cubs were fighting over the miraculous human artifact, each desperate to transform their scraggly juvenile coats into something worthy of their warrior lineage. When Lyra returned to her quarters an hour later, she stopped dead in the doorway. Four Phylixian Cubs sat in a neat row, their fur groomed to absolute perfection. Every whisker aligned, every tuft smoothed. They looked like miniature versions of the sleek, deadly predators they would one day become. And Threx held her hairbrush like a sacred relic. "Lyra Kor," he said formally, rising to his hind legs. "We have discovered your grooming technology. It is magnificent. We request permission to borrow this device regularly." She blinked, then laughed so hard she had to lean against the doorframe. "That's a hairbrush, Threx. It's not technology, it's just—" She paused, seeing their serious expressions. "You really like it, huh?" "Like is insufficient," Kessa declared. "This brush brings order to chaos, control to wildness. It makes us look like true warriors, not cubs." Something in Lyra's chest warmed. She thought of her own childhood, how a simple hairbrush had made her feel grown up, capable, ready to face the world. Maybe species weren't so different after all. "Tell you what," she said, crouching to their level. "If you promise to stop knocking over my tools, you can use it. But you have to learn to share." The Cubs agreed immediately. Word spread through the ship's Phylixian population like wildfire. Within a week, Commander Raxathor himself appeared at Lyra's door, his massive frame filling the entrance. "Engineer Kor," he rumbled, his usual stern expression softening slightly. "My Cubs speak of a human grooming implement. They claim it surpasses traditional Phylixian methods. Lyra tried not to smile. Would you like to try it, Commander? His ear tufts flicked with embarrassment. For research purposes, 20 minutes later, the fearsome Commander Raxathor emerged from her quarters with his mane perfectly styled, each hair in place, looking like something from a recruiting poster. He caught sight of himself in a reflective panel and stopped, transfixed. Remarkable, he murmured. By the end of the month, half the ship's Phylixian warriors were visiting Lyra's quarters for grooming sessions. She'd requisitioned a dozen more brushes from the supply catalog, each one claimed immediately. The warriors discovered that well-groomed fur improved their combat efficiency, less snagging on equipment, better thermal regulation, enhanced freedom of movement. But more than that, it became a ritual, a bonding experience. Warriors who'd never shown vulnerability would sit patiently while Lyra or the cubs brushed out mats and tangles, purring despite themselves. The turning point came during a surprise raid by Cravathi pirates. The Stellar Claw fought valiantly, but boarding pods breached the hull. Lyra found herself cornered in a corridor by 3 Cravathi warriors, their chitinous armor gleaming under emergency lights. Then Threx and his squad appeared. They were no longer cubs. 6 months of training, proper nutrition, and yes, regular grooming had transformed them into sleek, deadly warriors. Their fur flowed like liquid shadow as they moved, perfectly maintained and offering no handholds to enemies. They moved as one unit, a coordinated strike force that drove the Cravathi back with brutal efficiency. "Battle locks engaged," Threx snarled, his groomed mane bristling to make him appear even larger. The pirates fled. Later, as Lyra treated minor wounds in the medical bay, Commander Raxathor approached with the entire Phylixian warrior cohort behind him. "Engineer Corps," he said formally, "the Council has voted. You are hereby granted the title of Pack Groomer, an honorary position among our people. Your hairbrush technology has improved our combat readiness by 17%. More importantly, you have given us something we did not know we needed, a reminder that strength comes in many forms." Threx stepped forward, now as tall as Lyra's shoulder. "And you've given us battle locks," he added with a fanged grin. Lyra looked at the assembled warriors, their perfectly groomed fur gleaming under the med bay lights, and felt a surge of pride. Humanity's strength wasn't in claws or fangs. It was in adaptation, in finding unexpected solutions, in building bridges with a simple tool meant for hair. "Just wait until I show you what a blow-dryer can do," she said. The Phylixians leaned forward as one, golden eyes gleaming with interest. Commander